I have felt like it's important for the team members to know each other's strengths and weaknesses and talents and skills and all of that. I mean, is that important for the team, or does the leader just need to know this? You know, how does this work?
So, yeah, we call that team familiarity. So, if I recall the research, the team familiarity is like an inverted U relationship. Lots of familiarity, a problem. Little familiarity, a problem. And so you need to manage, because when you have a lot of familiarity, you could develop team complacency. And, you know, actually, if I recall, a lot of the accidents and mishaps in the 70s and 80s were due to team complacency. That is, I'll give you an example of which I read a long time ago. This is when US Air was in business in LaGuardia. You know, they're taxiing and they're about to take off. Pilot thought co-pilot was going to lift. Co-pilot thought pilot was going to lift. So none of them did this. And the plane went into the river. Thank God nobody died. But so that's why the airlines rotate their crews to avoid this. But also, little familiarity is a problem, because then you don't have the trust to see whether this person has the expertise or whether he or she is going to help you.
And I think there's a difference between personal familiarity and work-related familiarity, right? So the fact that I know Ed's hobbies is nice on a personal basis, but the research would suggest that doesn't help us much. The fact that I know Ed is very good in terms of coming up with theory and ideas and is not a great statistician, well, that helps us make decisions on our team as to how work gets distributed, right? So that's, understanding each other's true strengths and weaknesses, work preferences, that makes sense, much more valuable than knowing personal stuff, right?
I'm not a statistician.
Well, did I mention you're good theoretically? Did I?
Oh, okay.
Dan, can you feel the psychological safety?
I can feel it. I feel the love.
If I can just add one other quick thing to that, which is, it is important to know who has expertise on the team. In most cases, team members should know that. So researchers like to use the term transactional memory systems, which is just a fancy way of someone knowing who has knowledge, who has relationships, who has expertise. So when something happens, like in the case of offshore oil rigs, do I contact the chemical engineer on our team? Do I contact the civil engineer on our team? That's important.
Yes, makes perfect sense. So I've had this idea, and I'm looking to you for either correction or validation. And if I get corrected, I'm just going to take it off the video. If I get validated, I'm going to leave it on because it'll make me look smart. You know, I like the idea of team members talking to each other in the meeting. And I feel like sometimes, the leader of the meeting kind of dominates the meeting. And it just seems to me like that makes teams dumber than they need to be. And so I like to think about turning the heads to each other instead of just to the head of the table. Now that's a theory. And if it's okay, if you think it's okay, because you're the experts, I guess my question might be, how would you suggest producing that? But the second question might not matter.
Yeah. So first of all, let's start with, most leaders can't see and know everything. If you accept that as a premise, it means that we need team members to offer their point of view, their perspective, their commentary, ask questions when they're uncertain, all of that, which is back to the psychological safety piece. So I think what you're driving towards makes sense, right? We want the group engaged in conversation and not all like leader down, right? Room configuration can make a little bit of a difference. If you think about the way things that we've experienced, the signal it sends. So if I put you in a classroom with seats all lined up this way, right? And the teacher in the front, what's the signal that sends? If you go to church, right? And we've got, not only we have that, but we have the preacher behind a pulpit of some sort. What's the signal that sends, right? If we put you in more of a circle, right? What does that tell you? So I'm not suggesting that, board meetings should be, sitting around, in a circle. But I do think there's something to be said about rooms where people can make eye contact with one another. It probably sends a little different signal. If you have to be seated in a structured way, then the leader needs to make sure that they're asking for participation and involvement from people in the room, or they may not participate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of confirmation what you said.
Okay. Ed, could you chime in on this? I'd appreciate your thoughts.
No, what I've seen is, I think this is empirical, so observations is that the good team leaders try to, when they're at a table, try to promote that participation from everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple thing, but I've seen healthcare, in the military a lot, especially in the military, where leaders want input, that they promote a sense of what do you think, and let's talk to each other, and those kind of things. So I agree, partly validating what you say.
Partly, anyway.